Hi, everybody. This is Chris.
And this is Matt.
And he's justified. I'm ancient. And we drive in ice cream vans. And we're going to talk about Half-Life today. We're going to have a discussion, a discourse, a dialogue even. But we are not, Matt. What are we not going to do?
We're not going to review this thing.
Not going to review this thing. We don't review games here.
We don't.
We are two assholes with opinions. And we have some opinions on Half-Life.
Yeah. Which it was an interesting experience to play this again.
Yes.
I played it when I was probably, 19. So that was anywhere from like 5 to 23 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it blew my mind. I never beat it, but it blew my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And when you were like, or when we realized that this was 20 years old, the first thing I thought was, why the hell did I never beat Half-Life?
Mm-hmm.
And then I played it. And now I remember why I didn't beat Half-Life. But let's ease into it.
Right. Let's ease into
it.
the 20 years old because it came out in 1998 by Valve.
That's right.
Is the first
Sierra
game of Valve.
published it, which I didn't really realize.
Yeah. Since it's the first game of Valve, we can thank this for Steam, I guess, right? Like, this is... if this hadn't worked...
It started a whole lot of stuff, this game, both for Valve and both for the gaming industry. Like, I think this is one of the most historically important video games.
Whatever you feel about the game itself aside, that is a correct statement. It changed a lot of things. Not only launching Valve and bringing us Steam and where we are today with that. Because, like, Gabe Newell has often said, piracy's not a price problem. It's a distribution problem. It's, and I have to 100% agree with that. The ease of getting something off Steam versus pirating it and knowing I'm getting a good thing. If the price is like, I don't pirate anymore.
No, because pirating is way more work than buying it. And like, your time is worth something, obviously, and of course, doing the right thing is important.
Yeah,
paying people for their work is important. You wouldn't, Chris, download a goddamn car, would you?
I wouldn't a heartbeat. Those shit's expensive, man.
I would download a car too, but
especially
anyway,
once it gets dinged up or like you get a dent in it, just get a new fucking car, man.
Right, just download it.
But that's not how video games work. They're digital. They don't get dings in them.
No.
Sort of, and we will talk about that later too.
Yeah, I had some dings actually with Half-Life, but yeah. So significantly important because it brought us Steam, which is huge for so many people, for small developers, for big companies, everyone. Right. And
go
ahead.
No, you're on a roll. I'm interrupting. Sorry.
And it changed our relationship to storytelling in video games. I believe that in action video games.
Mm-hmm. Right, because it didn't drop us into cutscenes all the time. There's one at the end, basically, sort of. And arguably, this is like an interactive cutscene.
You're never outside of Gordon Freeman in this whole game.
Right.
And I think that is really an important thing that this game did that, there's a lot of... You can't say, like, this is the first action game with a plot, because it's definitely not. And it's not really the first video game with cinematic elements, but it's the first video game that really seemed to combine all those elements into a concise... or seemingly concise experience.
Right. So you saw things like I like to talk about in Deathlord, how if you like poke around the mayor's house, there's a vampire tomb in it. And if you explore in nooks and crannies, there's little hints of things that hint at a bigger world and a bigger story and a bigger something happening. Mm-hmm. But it was always done in this sort of piecemeal thing where the story unfolds in gameplay.
Yep.
And it's more noticeable now looking back, but at the time, revolutionary. So to some extent, you had to be there at the moment to have not had this and then suddenly have it, to understand the weight, the sea change that happened because of it.
Right. And we say this all the time on this show, that like to really experience these old games means to understand what gaming was like before and what gaming was like after. Because if you just like, you know, this is the first old game you played, you would be like, what's the big deal?
Right.
But it is a big deal. Like this, I was incensed because when I bought this game from, or when I opened this game on Steam, I've owned it forever. There was like, it gives you like tiles of things people are saying about it or whatever. And one of them was like, how to skip the annoying intro cutscene. And I was like, no,
that's part of it.
You can't skip it because that was what was amazing, to be placed on this tram where you're just riding and seeing this whole environment. Like that was something. And now it's like, oh, it's boring because you're just sitting there on a tram.
It comes back to, we talk about, all the time, games need to respect your time. And if a new game came out and put me on a tram like that, I would be absolutely railing at it for not respecting my time. But back then, this was getting a player in the right mindset.
Right.
From what they had. It was training people to think differently about a game because we'd been trained one way for so long.
Right. You're not gonna be dropped in the first corner there's gonna be some imp shooting lightning at you. It's just like, it's telling you this is not this game.
Right. You're gonna go through it slower. One of the dents I found in the game is, and you'll probably see it depending on how long we rattle on about this. The first weapon you get is the crowbar. It's iconic. Everyone, you probably, even if you haven't played the game, you'll know the first weapon you get is a crowbar. And you get it very far into the game. I don't even have the suit yet. Yeah. I'm still just walking around the cafeteria going to start my job.
Yep.
But you should get a pistol off a security guard a little ways in. I couldn't find the pistol.
Oh no.
So I went with the crowbar for a long way into the game.
Yeah. You can do it.
You can do it.
The crowbar's not too bad.
No. Had to be smart, had to think things through. Eventually got the shotgun and that changed stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. You have a knack for like finding the hardest way to play video games, I've noticed.
Well, and I'm normally one who's very against cheating. And if I hadn't beaten the game back in the day and been like trying to squeeze this in at the last minute, I wouldn't have cheated. But I had a situation at the end where there is a giant crab creature you're fighting.
Yes.
And it scuttles around and it drops down a hole at one point.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And then it's going to charge down and drop down another hole. Mine dropped down the hole and didn't keep going.
Right, and it's impervious to damage.
Yes.
And if your saves are like mine, you end up screwed because you shoot all your guns at it, and then you have to go into the rest of the game with highly diminished. That was very, very frustrating to me. And I also had a few bugs throughout the game where I just couldn't progress. And I would much rather a game crash than just leave me in the dark wondering, especially like, because like part of Half-Life is and this is like the short version. This is what Half-Life is. It's a series of really fantastic moments connected by a lot of crawling through fucking vents. That is like what Half-Life is. And when you like transition levels and you're in the dark, you're like, oh, this is going to be amazing. Something's going to happen. I just have to like figure out what no, it's a bug, Matt. You're just like going to sit here for 15 minutes like an idiot. It's like really frustrating. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I hit a lot of bugs too, and it made the game dramatically harder for me.
Here's
And
where
like,
you're talking about ways I find the hardest way to play. I just about killed myself here. Yeah, I don't reload.
no,
Which
no.
is why what I'm about to say should drive home how many bugs and how much crap I dealt with already. After that spider bug problem, I just turned on bug mode or God mode and no clip.
Oh wow.
Just
You
like
just got through the rest.
I'm gonna just zip through the rest. I don't care anymore. I beat
Yeah,
this game back when I was a kid.
I slogged through it. Like I didn't really skip. I didn't skip anything except like I had to advance from the end of that level where they left me in the dark to the beginning of the next level. But there's like no actual gameplay in there. It's just like a transition that didn't happen.
Right.
So I really did. I did the full.
You did the full
Monty
situation
here. Yeah.
The ending offers you a choice.
Yeah.
How did you handle that?
The first thing I did was I said, fuck you to the guy. And then the second thing I did was realize that I don't really have a choice and reloaded and just went through the thing.
I was going to say, how did you... Because that's what I did as a kid, too. I'm like, no, smoking man, I'm not dealing with your ass.
Right. Right. Yeah, the bad guy in this game is just as much... That's one of the great things about it, is it's not just you fighting aliens from another dimension. Like, there's this kind of government conspiracy thing happening, and you don't really fight the government conspiracy. You fight, like, the army when they come.
Right.
To react, but like you see the guy, and that's brilliant, really brilliant storytelling, is that you see the guy in the suit throughout the game.
Right.
And I love that about this game.
And this is one of those where, in terms of story, where, like, let's just rub some salt in some people's wounds right now. The story of this reminds me of when we talked about Master of Orion 2. In that, at the time, we were just starting X-Files. You know what I mean? Like, all this stuff was new. This was cool. This was different. And now when I say, oh, well, there's a world that's happening beyond what's you're involved in. You're not necessarily the center of everything. I mean, you're important, and people are interested in your help and your assistance, but you're not the Doom Marine. Right. And you're constantly seeing aspects of the military fighting the aliens as you're running by and other things happening. Today it's like, yeah, and? But this game is why you can say, yeah, and.
Totally. Yeah. It's interesting because it's so rich in that way. Like, the world feels very fleshed out. And when I started this again, I was ready for... I thought it was plottier. Does that make sense? There's really... Even though the world's really fleshed out and there's things happening outside of you, the actual plot of what you're doing as Gordon Freeman is really not that good.
It's trying not to die.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, you're given direction. Like, you know, I have to launch this satellite. I have to get to the Lambda complex, blah, 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 blah. And, like, there's things happening around it that change your path, and it changes what's happening. But really the actual, like, story of Gordon Freeman, it's not that great. Like, it's given to you through interactions with people or just, like, mandated by the environment, kind of. But it's really not that rich. And there's like a 30-page, the guy's name is Mark Laidlaw, who he's a sci-fi author, and he, like, wrote the narrative, you know, the dialogue, the story. And he did a great job. But I just, for some reason, I wanted it to be more almost cinematic, the way that I, as Gordon Freeman, find out where I need to go and,
Well,
learn
but that's what we were
things.
talking about at the beginning, where that's sort of entirely the point is to not be cinematic.
Well, I'm sorry, yeah, not cinematic from like a cutscene standpoint, but just from like a plot,
Oh,
like because you have the plot elements, you have your exposition in the beginning
mm-hmm.
or your background, you have your rising action all the way up to the end, and then you have your resolution, whatever. But that whole middle part where you're going from, okay, shit went down, to I have to go kill this big bad thing in Zen or whatever the
Yep.
alien world is. And this is brilliant, by the way, that they show it to you here. I
Mm-hmm.
love that.
Yeah,
But
that's great foreshadowing.
that whole middle thing, like events happen, blah blah blah, but you're not really taken from thing to thing in kind of a linear way. It's just kind of like strung together. And what I'm getting at is that my overall take on this game is that yes, it's incredibly brilliant. It did all these amazing things, but man, I spent 18 hours to 20 hours to beat this. I wish this were a 10-hour long game.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
it's too long. I don't need all of it. I don't need whole levels where I'm on a train. Like, please.
Right.
It becomes tunnel after tunnel, and the plot gets muddy in the
Mm-hmm.
middle because you're just like going from thing to thing to thing, and it doesn't feel purposeful. It feels like we got to get 20 hours out of this.
Yes.
And so it's like big long, like I said, big long places where nothing really happens, and
When
then
you,
like an awesome moment
yes.
to keep you going.
Yes.
And man, just cram those awesome moments together. I don't need that much time.
Yeah, this game could have been half the time and cut some of the like windier mazes and stuff out. Because as much as we talk about the story and stuff's happening around you and it's happening all over,
Mm-hmm.
and it's made in a way to make you feel like you're in a bigger thing than you are, it's still a hallway.
Right.
It might have bends, but it's still a hallway. There's no open worldness to
Yeah.
this.
And you
They
can't
hide
really
it pretty
fault
good at
them.
the beginning,
Yeah.
but it's not.
Yeah. You can't fault them, but like
No.
one of the heartbreaking moments for me was that you get to the surface, it's revealed to you that the military you thought that was going to help you is going to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point I would have loved like some more outside things, getting to another building, something, but you immediately go back underground, back into tunnels, back into vents. And it was just like, that's such a great reveal. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is another problem that you're going to have. And I love that, like, as you go, it seems like they kind of hate you
Yeah.
because they like write everywhere, like, die
Freeman
Gordon.
dies.
They like
Yeah.
are motivated to kill you. But then to like take that and just push me back underground, just it really rubbed me the wrong way.
Well, right, because what I would have done is like, oh, the military's here to get me. Peace out.
Yeah.
Let's just pick a direction. Let's not stay where the military's standing, and I'll get the first flight to Russia, and we'll deal with that.
Right. Yeah. So that those aspects of it to me were, I after a while I got annoyed and was only bolstered by those few moments, and some of the moments like the one where you blast the creature with the tentacles
Mm-hmm.
with the rocket.
Yeah.
Like I didn't, that to me wasn't one of those moments, because it was just like, this is kind of like it just felt like a puzzle.
Yeah.
There was no big reveal to it. Like I said, the one to me that felt significant was encountering the military, because I felt something about it. Or these early
Yeah.
moments where you're like seeing everything that you just went through totally destroyed. Like, that to me is amazing.
I have to say, like, even when I got to that test fire tentacle monster the first time, I didn't feel like it was a big reveal or cool.
Yeah.
It just felt like, oh, you're forcing me into a set solution because, like, I've got 87 grenades. Like,
Right.
if those rockets would have killed it, my 87 grenades would have killed it. Like,
Yeah.
we don't need a rocket to handle this problem.
Right. And it's not like a holy shit kind of moment. It's because it's just like a bunch of tentacles. You throw a grenade, you run down the ladder.
Yeah.
And you follow some lines on the wall to the pieces. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, that part reminds me that one of the other, I won't necessarily say sins, but one of the other problems is there's a lot of jumping puzzles.
Especially, that to me was another huge disappointment, that you get to Zen and it's just a bunch of jumping puzzles.
Well, and I don't know how were the controls for you, because I found them incredibly slidey.
Yeah, I thought they were sensitive.
Yeah.
I don't know if slidey is a word I'd use, but let me think about that, because I think you might be right. Yeah.
I mean, walking is not default, running is.
Mm-hmm.
You have to shift to walk. And because you're always running, there's no default, like, nudging stuff. You have to remember, oh yeah, hold down shift, or I'm going to just take 18 steps off the side of the platform. I'm trying to shimmy my way around. And there's tons of places you're shimmying. So
yeah. I hate jumping puzzles in general, so I didn't like that anywhere in this game. There weren't any that I was really impressed with, or where the context of it was so cool that I was, like, willing to do it.
Right. I think, like, a level in Zen, like, right when you get there, and if you would have had to jump all those, or maybe the last one where you're getting up to that one teleporter, that would have been enough. That'd have been cool. And a couple places where you have to jump, like one or two, and then have them be really forgiving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think they were trying to show off. The other thing that this game did that a lot of games at the time hadn't done is the physics in this game are good for the time.
They really are. Yeah, it's heavily modified Quake 2 engine, and it's on, like, full display. It's a really good engine.
Yeah.
And that's why there's so many goddamn mods for Half-Life.
Right.
Because it is a great engine, and it lets you have these kind of complicated worlds like this.
Well, and that was going to be my other thing. So we talked about, this launched Valve. Valve gave us Steam. This changed storytelling in first-person games. This probably helped a lot with, RPGs in first person, because it sort of showed us some different ways to tell a story.
Mm-hmm.
Not that they didn't exist before, but it really showed you can do it successfully on a large scale.
Right.
It proved it. Where other things tried, it proved it. But the mods are arguably more important than the game.
Yeah.
Because you have Counter-Strike and you have Team Fortress.
Right.
Along with a bunch of other stuff, but Counter-Strike and Team Fortress were mods to this.
Right. And that was a big, big deal.
Mm-hmm.
The first multiplayer game I ever played with, like, strangers was Team Fortress 1 for Quake. And the way that Counter-Strike, if you, like, compare that to Counter-Strike, it's night and day. Like, Counter-Strike was absolutely amazing, and it was just brilliant, and we wouldn't have it if it weren't for Half-Life.
Was Team Fortress... Did I get that wrong on Team Fortress before people start in the comments?
Team Fortress 2 is the one that was based on this engine. And Team Fortress 1 was a Quake mod.
Okay.
Or Quake 2 possibly. I want to say it was Quake 1, but I'm not sure.
Team Fortress says it's Gold Source.
Team Fortress 1?
Yeah.
I swear there was a team-based Quake mod. Quake Team Fortress.
I'm looking that up myself now.
Yeah. Team Fortress is a team and class-based multiplayer online first-person shooter based on its Quake engine. Quake Team Fortress is what it's referred to as now. And that came out in 96. And it was fun. Like, it was really good. Yeah. These dog things are great. They're like little alien.
Okay, so it came out on the Quake engine, and then Valve ported it using the Gold Source to sort of show off their engine.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it kind of took off.
Took off from there. I was going to say, I don't remember playing Team Fortress on Quake. I did very little with the Quake multiplayer and mods.
Yeah, there were people that were super into Quake multiplayer.
Yeah. And modding. Quake was a great one for modding. But this one, Counter-Strike, obviously. And then I don't think we'd still be talking about Team Fortress if it wasn't this versions of it. Because if you look at the two, as I'm seeing, like, I don't remember the Quake one, but I know I played this version.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this game was huge for that reason as well. Like, it really... Like, there have been mods before this.
Yeah.
It really kind of launched a cottage industry of mods.
Right. And again, didn't start modding. Like, that didn't start here, but it brought it to another level. Like, modding always existed, then Doom brought it to one level. And Duke kind of inched it up, and then this came, and it went to a just whole nother modding thing. So...
Yeah. All those fans.
Yep.
Yeah. You know, the level design is smart. It relied way too much on vents and sub corridors.
Yeah.
But it's smart the way that it herds you without being just a linear walk through the tunnels the way that kind of Doom is. It's like it feels like a real building, and you're blocked sometimes, and when you find your way around the blockage, like, it's smart. It's smart in that way, but it just like went on way too long. Right.
No, I 100% agree with that. Like you said, I think it took me like 25 hours or something like that the first time.
Yeah.
And I am normally not one to say shorter games are better. Like, if you're paying $60 for a game, I expect 20 hours of gameplay out of it. But I expect 20 hours of interesting gameplay. And if you are just padding, I would rather you charge $30 and cut half the fluff out.
Yeah. I mean, I would have paid $60 for a
at the time
10-hour Half-Life experience. Like, leave them wanting more,
Right. I'm just saying, from a consumer standpoint, if I'm paying that full retail price, I do expect a certain amount of time playing for my price. Like this ride down an elevator, they do that again later.
Right. There's a lot of elements that you encounter over and over again. Head crab and event. This thing going down the train levels.
Right.
Like, it feels like they
could have done each one once. It would have been an interesting experience and stuck with you. And instead, we had it several times, so none of it feels special. And like watching them fly over me as they're trying to land on me, and they're just skidding off the side because they're missing.
Yeah.
Hilarious. And that would have been a great moment, but instead I've got to do this again later, and I'm like, okay, well, this is just one of those moments now instead of the moment.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It really does kind of cycle.
Yeah.
But man, I'll tell you, any laser trip mine trap, I'm there for those, because over and over again. Like they always feel clever, and there's like a meanness about it because it feels very deliberate. Like this feels like, okay, this is a situation, it's head crabs flying down the thing.
Yeah.
But you feel something when you come around a corner and there's a really well placed trip mine. You're like, oh, you son of a bitch.
There were a lot of, and I don't think this would hold up today. There were a lot of gotcha moments where you're going to take damage. Something jumps out of something, you're going to fall and have to take damage. And if you are hurt from somewhere else, that can just as much ruin your game. Oh, I missed. Oh,
you're going out like a head crab. Yeah.
So, like, I never care for you're going to take damage, but I also don't care for you have to go here, and then the moment you do the thing you have to do, you get punished for it. And I understand there's supposed to be some horror to it, but it should be avoidable if you know what you're doing. And
yeah.
One
of the things I like about the pacing are those moments where you're like almost out of ammo, and it feels like they did a great job figuring out where to put the little caches of supplies and the HEV chargers and the health things, because again, like when you find those, you feel something about it.
It's always sort of right where you need it, except one spot near the end where, like, I told my wife as I was like, I came around a corner and there was just a bunch of health kits, and then there was a power charger and another charger, and I'm like, I didn't really need these and haven't fought anything recently, so they are topping me off for whatever's in the next room.
Yep, some bullshit's about to happen. Yeah.
I've played video games enough to know I'm about to fight a boss.
Yep. What I really loved is how they handled it in the Zen world, because there's all these dead people, and like that's part of the storytelling that's so brilliant, is that it constructs this story through the environment. Like, okay, we've been sending people over here, and they're dead. Or when you find all the kind of creatures in captivity in the, I think it's in the Lambda complex later,
the questionable ethics chapter.
Yeah. Those are amazing moments. Those are the things that kept me going.
Well, right. You find out, like, you start this game off and it seems like you triggered something that caused an incursion. And really what happened is you opened the door for retribution for your incursion. Not you specifically, but the government on the whole.
Right. That's a brilliant take.
Yeah.
It's such a good turn.
Right.
Are we the baddies?
And I mean, you know, they came in shooting first and asking questions later, so I feel like everybody's...
Yeah. Just like real life, everybody sucks.
It's a 1970s Wicker Man.
Yep.
The good Wicker Man. You should watch that if you haven't.
Oh, yeah. Everyone should watch... I don't know if I can say that.
Yeah,
everyone should experience
the
Wicker Man, or... Yeah, it's something. But yeah, one of the bigger disappointments to me was Zen, because it's the smart thing about it is that you go to the other world, and if you're in an alien factory, you know what it is, but it's still completely alien.
Yes.
And that was successful.
Yes.
But was not successful were all the fucking jumping puzzles and getting launched in the air and having to land on platforms. Like, I don't want to do it. Like, I'll do the alien factory, even though it felt a little long and protracted. Yeah. But don't make me keep doing the jumping puzzles.
Right. Like, it could have been like one room of factory and one room of this and like... And yeah, there was a bit too much of the mechanical, that part of things. And I understand they were going for more of a horror and less of a shooty bang bang. But still could have dialed it down. Just a little bit.
Yeah, that could have been shorter. The boss fights were interesting, but again, that one being broken.
The one being broken, and that one went on too long. You make it run away like 3-4 times.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this was too. I already beat you twice already. Why am I fighting you again?
Right. It feels very Nintendo game.
Yeah. The final boss. I know final bosses are supposed to be like harder than the rest, but keeps telling you away, you got to come back. Keeps teleporting you away, you got to come back. It wasn't necessarily hard. It was just
right.
Like fine.
And of course, some of them are jumping puzzles.
And some of them are jumping puzzles.
It's like, here, do this jumping thing again that you hated the first time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Here's a Scruples question for you.
Okay, I'm ready.
Someone I follow on Twitter has said that all boss fights should be skippable.
I think that I disagree with that. I see the appeal because it's not for everyone, but if that's like part of the story that you're telling, because I ultimately think of video games primarily as a storytelling method, and if your intention is for that to be part of the experience, I don't think it should always be skippable. I think it's a nice option if you feel like it's not critical.
Right.
If you feel like you're more demoing a gameplay mechanic than you are telling a story, then go ahead. Like I don't think they should all be skippable.
I feel like it's sort of like colorizing a movie. It doesn't necessarily change the movie you just watched. But some of the medium is the black and white or the color.
Right.
And changing it changes what the story you just had.
Right.
And I'm not saying that means I disagree with being able to skip bosses, because I understand, like, if you just aren't that good, you're gonna not. You wouldn't play Half-Life for some of these. And if I can just turn on God mode and no clip, then same thing. Or look it up in a strategy guide online. Like, I'm torn. That's why I brought it up, because I'm genuinely. I agree that part of the story being told is the difficulty of beating the boss. But that's already ruined because of the internet.
Yeah, but encountering a boss generally it has a weight to it. Like they're big, they're like special creatures, and to be able to just skip it feels somewhat anticlimactic to
What
me.
What about this?
Okay.
3 tries. You got to try it twice. If you fail, you fail. Third try, it's like, do you just want to skip this?
Yeah.
Like, you've gone in and you will still get the weight of this was a difficult thing. And you'll have still sort of had the experience of what it is to try and overcome that boss. But we're not going to stop the game because you couldn't get past this point.
I think I'm for that as long as your condescending voice comes across. Says, you just need to skip this one, buddy.
You want us to give you a pass on this?
Because then you still feel something.
Right.
Not necessarily what they wanted you to feel, but there's a shame aspect.
I think my condescending voice should be in all video games.
Yeah, completely.
Every time you die, it's just me going, you suck!
Yep. I'd play that game. I do play that game every time we play something together.
Why? Are you by my barriers again? Are you shitting near my barriers?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
One thing I think is interesting about Half-Life 2 is that you get alien-based weapons, and the weapons are really creative. But I also think the pacing of the weapons is strange.
Go on.
Well, you said you get nothing at the beginning, which is brilliant. You get
Mm-hmm.
the crowbar, brilliant. Then you get the gun and the shotgun. Then you don't really get anything for a while. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
like you pick up explosives, and then you get new weapons very kind of late in the game, um, and it feels kind of strange to get like the crossbow after you get
Yeah.
grenades and stuff like that. And then you get the long jump thing, and it's very much just it's not I know it's not a weapon, but
Mm-hmm.
it's very much just for the Zen jumping puzzles.
Right.
And like yeah, you could have just reduced the gravity or something, but or whatever. But
Right.
anyway, the pacing of it is weird, and then you get kind of all the alien weapons almost at once in
Mm-hmm.
that one section.
Right.
Questionable ethics, I think.
You get one before that, but yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
I think the pacing probably wouldn't have felt of weapons wouldn't have felt as bad if, like we said before, it was a shorter game. If your
right.
time between each weapon was less, you'd be like,
Hmm.
oh, this makes sense that this is next and this is next. And you would have felt like a flow to the game. The game doesn't have a flow.
Yeah.
There's no you get in and you ride. It's
Yeah. Like today, I beat this. We've been talking about playing this game for like
mhm,
3 months now, and I beat it right away. So there was kind of a gap where I hadn't played it
mhm.
again. So I was watching, or I was like reading the chapters, and man, those middle chapters are so muddy in my mind, and I think that just speaks to like
Right.
kind of the problems with this game. And you know, as much as we talk about being able to go back and appreciate these games in the context, that's why I never beat it when I played it initially.
Right. There is
I
a
just like,
yeah, even context. This was a long slog of a game. Like, and yeah, the middle chapters are completely forgettable.
mhm,
There's a couple moments. It's always the moments that are memorable, and the just grind between them is
mhm,
forgotten.
yeah,
I mean, it's no auto duel, but there it is not hold up. And I saw, like, you were talking about the Steam comments. Like, some
mhm,
people were like, I don't get what this is about. I saw somebody's like, how does, you know, this game doesn't hold up? And somebody's like, well, it's 20 years old. Of course it doesn't hold up. I'm like, no, that's not the. A 20-year-old game might not hold up because of graphics. It might not hold up because of the controls. That's not the problem with this game. The problem with this game is level design and pacing, and
mhm,
not all of it. It's brilliant moments with dull threads in between you have to walk down.
yep, totally.
Yeah.
Do you want to do peak and pit?
Do you have? I want to talk about two things with interface before we
Oh
do,
yeah, yeah. Let's do that.
because one of the things I think is interesting about this is normally like 1 through 10 is all your weapons.
Hmm.
But this was 1 through 5 for weapon types, and then you cycled through the type, which honestly sometimes was a pain in the ass for me. But how did you find it?
I found it also to be a pain in the ass. It was kind of cool to like remember. Oh, I'm out of grenades, but I've got a bunch of like
Hmm.
the trip mines, and that's cool.
Yeah.
Like that was a nice like surprise. But overall, I would have rather had all the weapons immediately at my disposal.
I also I like games that have to like select between weapon types sometimes. Like you can only carry 2 or 3.
Hmm.
Like a pistol, a rifle, and a heavy. And you
Hmm.
got those 3 you're carrying around, and those are the 3 you get. And
Hmm.
halfway through this game also makes the cardinal sin of, and now we're taking all your stuff away.
Yeah, yeah, they definitely
So
did
I just
that.
thought of that. So yeah, that's a thing that happens.
Yep. Yeah.
So for all the, you're in control and you're going through it, there's one point where they go, we're taking control away.
Hmm. The other thing too that what was revolutionary about this game was the AI for the military dudes. When this
Yeah.
came out, it was like they throw grenades at you, they coordinate, blah blah blah. You play it now, they're like, these fucking guys are just like running into my bullets. Like,
Yeah.
what are they doing? This doesn't feel that
I
revolutionary.
remember thinking that on a couple scenes where I'm like, I just crossbowed that guy right next to his friend and like nothing happened. And I remember the AI being amazing. Because the AI will try to flank, it will try to get behind you, it will do things differently than, Doom, where if you stand in the middle, they all just run right at you. These guys will actually try and take cover.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
at the time, revolutionary. Now, we've seen better.
Yeah.
Glad it happened,
Oh
but
yeah.
we've moved past it.
Well, it just goes to show you how like your memory is tainted by like the novelty of it.
Right.
Because now that it's not new anymore, you see all the, you know, all the
You see the
warts.
gear, you see the strings holding up Bernie. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. The other thing I love about this game, one of my favorite things video games do is make the player engage in activity that they know to be detrimental.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very much this first chapter.
Yeah. Like, I wouldn't do this. This is a stupid idea.
Because you're like, don't do it, Gordon. You're like, oh, wait, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
The other thing I liked about the interface is the little HUD items you get are explained as being part of the suit. They are
Yes.
not just for you as a player, they are considered part of what Freeman sees.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. The other, I don't know if you'd call it an interface thing, but another thing that I really liked was your reliance on other people.
yes.
This was unique in that way too. Like you need scientists to get you through doors. Arguably you don't need the security guards' help because they're not particularly useful. But there's moments where you need them
You need them to open keypads and stuff too.
to do things, and you like think you're finding a key or you're finding some way through, and what you're looking for is just like someone with a set of eyeballs.
Mm-hmm.
I
Now,
like
that said, as
about
someone who
this.
didn't find the pistol right away, I use the security guards quite often.
Oh, I'll bet. Yeah. They're a
I'm like,
decent human
will you give
shield.
me your gun? No. Well, great. You're coming with me then.
Yep.
Saddle up, Punch. Chips ride.
Yep.
Okay. I didn't look at the instructions this time, as I remember they were fine.
Yeah, it doesn't really need instructions.
No.
It's all in there.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't look at them either.
I think the only thing that I had to look up was I didn't remember how to super jump.
Oh yeah.
And you got to crouch and jump at the same time, and that flings you.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, it was fine. Okay. Pinnacle and Pit, you first.
Okay, so the peak for me whenever I play Half-Life is always the same thing. It's the moments after this reactor explodes
Mm-hmm.
and you are walking back through what you already encountered, but it's all destroyed. It's evocative, it's an interesting thing, and it's like Half-Life at its best.
Yes.
And the obligatory peak is that I beat it, and like anytime we get to beat a game, that's always a very
Right.
positive thing
Yeah.
for me, even though I didn't think the ending was that great.
No. The ending was fine. It was, for the time, it was newish. I mean, it wasn't like unheard of, but it was definitely of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it felt right then, but now
Mm-hmm.
it's just like whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's a non-choice ultimately,
Yeah.
so whatever.
And at the
But,
time,
yeah,
isn't that edgy?
I guess so.
But now it's like, yeah, I've seen non-choice games.
The pit for me was encountering that bug with the giant head crab,
Mhm.
Gonarch's lair, I believe.
Yeah.
Because I wasted all my ammo. I engaged in a lot of problem solving, trying to avoid going out to the internet for hints.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, like, okay, I need help. I'm missing something. I'm going to go look it up. Looking it up and realizing I just wasted all my ammo, all my time because this thing is bugged after 20 years.
Yeah, I had one where I was at like a spot and I was shooting down at it and I launched like 8 rockets and
Yep.
like all my thrown satchels and everything and it just didn't flinch. And I'm like, let me reload real quick, and then just went in there and hit it with 5 rockets and it ran off. I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought. That's cheap. Like games, if you're watching, if somebody figures out how to cheese your boss, like from a position, then edit the position out of the game. Don't just make the boss invulnerable.
Right. Right,
'Cause
exactly.
if they figured it out, good for them.
Well, that's what I was wondering the whole time. Like, can I stand up here and shoot at it? Do I have to go down and then go into that thing and shoot up at it? Like, but the answer is it's
No, you have to be next
bugged.
to it or it doesn't work. And
Yeah.
like, really?
And you
I
can't
would have
survive
thought I
that.
have to land on the platform, lure it over, and then shoot up at it.
Absolutely. So that was the pit for me because I had already like kind of been, the bloom was off the rose a little bit with all the corridors and the trains and the vents and the whatever.
Yeah.
And then to just kind of like waste all that time was really kind of disappointing.
Yeah. No, that's my pit too. That like there were some minor bugs like the pistol and stuff that I'd run into beforehand, but nothing catastrophic. That happened and I'm like, I just don't want to anymore. Like,
Right, because it's at the end.
It's at the end. This has already taken too long. I'm so done.
I was annoyed when I got captured, and that's where I had the other bug because it just like put me in this dark area. But like I figured that out pretty quick because you get a sense that that's wrong. But that second bug to me was just like, ugh, draining.
Yeah. I won't say the taking all my stuff away. It would have been my pit, would have been taking all the stuff away if it wasn't for an absolute game-stopping bug when the boss broke.
Yeah.
Like, that's your boss should be solid. Like, I understand if one of the, like, incidental things around the side didn't quite get all the going overs it needed.
Yeah.
But your boss, you should spend some extra time QAing that.
Totally.
So, especially after how many years now? Like, you're still releasing this. This is one of the things I was going to say this too about Half-Life 3. They can never release Half-Life 3.
No.
Because it will never, ever be what anyone wants.
Yeah.
This was a moment in time. And people want that moment back, and that moment will never come back.
Nope.
They should Skyrim the fuck out of this and just keep releasing new versions of
There you go.
that they polish.
Now you're talking.
Just every year, just roll it out again, man.
Yep.
I know that's a horrible, like, I know people will buy it, but, like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they every 5 years or every 10 years, just
Let's do Half-Life again.
do Half-Life again.
Here it is with like a...
Have this be your intern project. Like, you get some new guy, go, okay, as training, you are going to make your version of Half-Life. And then they make their version, and we're like, oh, I like the 98 Half-Life. Oh, I like the 2005 Half-Life.
Right. I like the one with ray tracing in virtual reality.
Yeah. I like the one that replaces the crowbar with a chainsaw.
Yeah. I like the one that they implant directly into your brain.
Ooh. I like the one in pill form. That was a good game of Half-Life.
Yep.
Okay. So my pinnacle.
Yes.
I don't have one. There is nothing in this game that made me happy.
Really? You didn't find anything?
I didn't find anything and that makes it sound like I found the rest of the game bad. That's not what I'm saying. I just didn't find anything that stands out as this moment.
Really?
Really.
That is very surprising to me, but I will not tell you that you're wrong for not having a peak.
Yeah, there's nothing that really went higher than anything else. Couple valleys, but no.
Really? Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I want to. Even now. I'm still racking my brain, going, "What about?" I'm like, no.
This you're saying this moment where you're going back through and the thing falls on the head crab and smashes it, or the guy gets pulled into the vent. None of that stuff was a peak for you.
The thing is, we see that, like you said, there's brilliant moment, dredge, brilliant moment, dredge, brilliant moment, but none of those brilliant moments like stand out.
Mm-hmm.
They're all good, with long stretches of nothing in between them.
Yeah.
But they're all good. But none of them are that. That was my moment. That was my, oh my God, I love this game moment.
Yeah. I get it.
So, yeah. I
That's
think
sad,
if I had to say, if you're like, you have to pick one anyway, it would not be from this playthrough. It would be from the first time I played through.
Oh, yeah.
There was a lab where it was the first time a head crab jumped out of a vent. Like that first time,
Mm-hmm.
I fell out of my chair. I was playing in the dark because I didn't know this was a horror game at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like crawling up to go into a vent, and a head crab jumped out, and I physically fell backwards and knocked my chair over.
That's great.
Right? Like that was a great moment. But that was 23 years ago now. So
yeah,
I guess that's my pinnacle.
Yeah. My pinnacle was also being 20 something.
Yeah, right. I liked being 20 something. It was awesome.
It was great. Yeah.
Would do it again. Recommend.
Yep.
This spot right here. Because I already pulled the head crab out that time. But that was the vent. That was when we were like, oh.
Yeah. This whole like just kind of insanity that happens right after. I love.
It would be interesting to see, and again, can't do it. This was a point in time. But if Half-Life never existed, what would it look like today if they made it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like without any reference, but still trying to make the same story, what would they have done?
Yeah, it would be interesting to see.
Yeah. It can't happen, just a thought experiment, but yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well. All right.
What do we got coming up next? I think we've given Half-Life.
We've given Half-Life a full life. Yeah. Nothing.
Oh, we're done.
We're done.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. It's been a good run. We're ending now. Actually, no. So, January, year in review.
Yes, we will be ranking our Kardashian-style peaks and pits, our tops, our bottoms, our peaks, our valleys.
Yeah.
I got more of these. Our laughter, our tears.
Laughter. Yeah. Our annoying laughs. What was Chris's most annoying laugh of the season? What is Chris still hanging on to in bitter remembrance of?
Yeah, our neuroses will be on full display as usual.
Yeah. Oh, let's see who's still watching. One of the things we get kind of gets brought up in like our Discord and our other places. I shouldn't say our Discord, but the Discord. Some people, even though we say our names at the beginning, don't know which of us is which.
Yes.
So I'm going to help everybody out right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's the sexy one. I'm the attractive one. Now you know.
Perfect. Would you rather be the sexy one or the attractive one?
Yes.
Good answer. Okay.
Anyway.
Year in review coming up.
Year in review coming up. It's December. I make no promises about when we do any live streaming in December, but we will probably sneak one or two in.
Oh yeah, I think we can.
Yeah.
Probably make that happen.
We like doing it, so it'll be fun, and we want to get through Knox. That thing's been going on a long time, and
Yeah.
We've had some delays in there, so let's let you guys see the end of Knox.
Yes, I'm very excited.
We should be close.
Yeah, I feel like we're getting there.
So.
But join us because those are live and you can talk to us in real time.
Mm-hmm. Tell us what we're doing wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Discuss snacks. Snacks are important.
Very important. Very, very important.
Yeah. There's something else I can say about it, but I'm not going to worry about it now.
Okay.
We'll just say thanks to everybody.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Big thank you to all of you watching, sharing, liking, subscribing, suggesting games, commenting on our videos, or supporting us on Patreon. We appreciate all of your support and look forward to sharing many more videos with you. Thank you again.